anti-immigration rhetoric that the media perpetrates time and time again. So I think it acts in some way, it acts like the glue of anti-immigration rhetoric. So if you take the example of Gordon Brown's speech in 2007, in which he stated British jobs for British workers, if you read the whole speech in its entirety, it's actually a traditional social democratic speech in which he talks about various apprenticeship schemes, training schemes, etc. But the only way that the Labour Party is able to play off the Daily Mail is by effectively placing a line in there and mediating itself and saying, well, Gordon Brown will also mention British jobs for British workers, and so he hits the headlines. And that political opportunism or spinelessness plays itself through and through. If you look at the way that Nigel Farage capitalized on the 0 hours, zero hours contract, it was like literally, it was never do you hear labour rights or workers' rights being discussed in the mainstream media. However, what happens again is 0 hour contracts gets into the mainstream media. What does Nigel Farage say? Not I'm going to quit 0 hour contract. No, I'm going to kick out all those Romanian people as a consequence of having zero hours. And so the same thing happened again, and to just give another example, with the BBC, and which is also mentioned in Owen Jones's book, Chaps, where a worker at the Lindsay Oil refinery says, we're being separated off from the Portuguese and Italians. But the BBC actually spiced it in such a way, and he said, we don't even get into contact with them. I mean, actually manufacturing a whole different narrative around the Lindsay Oil dispute, where at the same time there actually are worker struggles that are occurring, and they're never being reported about. At the same time, workers' rights are only being framed in the way if they're able to be used to divide the working classes. I think we do have a problem on our hands insofar that there is no viable alternative in the upcoming European Union elections in this country. I do think it's brave and I think it's great that people are defacing UKIP posters, but the question is how do we, in 5 years' time, have a viable political alternative that is able to use the proportional system that we have in the European Union elections to stand viable candidates, to put forward a message, an anti-austerity message, anti-neoliberal message, an open borders message inside of the European Union elections. I think the one important thing, just to close off with, I think it's, as you know, the Italians said, given that it's the National Day of Liberation in Italy today as well, and the 40th anniversary of the Portuguese Revolution, so great time to have a meeting. Anyways, Antonio Gramsci said, pessimism of the intellect, optimism of the will, and I think Darcus combines, you know, the two, and I hope that this meeting did its effort in combining the two as well.
I think of course, we need to actually mobilize people on the ground and to challenge the narrative of UKIP. At the same time, we have to use what the migrant workers are using to challenge the narratives. They can't just say that the migrant workers are lowering the salary of the British workers. Nevertheless, you go all over London, migrant workers demonstration and striking for better working conditions, not just for the London living wage, but they go on and they want more. So those who come and say, no, migrant workers just take whatever is there. No, when we come in a country, I'm a migrant worker myself. When I came into this country, then you actually take whatever is there. But then as soon as you became organized, you realize that you got rights. You can organize, you can fight back. Then as soon as you realize that you got power, then you do so. And I'm in zero contracts, by the way. And I'm in zero not because I want to be in zero contracts, because it has been imposed upon us. And it's so difficult to organize the workers in zero contract, because that's the whole point of the zero contracts, to limit the right of the workers and to prevent them from organizing. But it's not just we are taking what is can. It has been imposed by the system which is taking place. And the statutory laws are not enough. They don't protect the workers as they should be protected. They give the minimum to live. But the migrant workers are not accepting that for granted. They are fighting back. And so we need to challenge the narrative of the UKIP and others by showing that the migrant workers are fighting, and are fighting back, and they are winning little battles in here and there. When we actually take into account all the little battles, they are winning a massive battle about massive corporations and about those who actually oppress the system itself. So we should be using all this narrative to encourage people to come on board and to join this movement against it.
I'm very pleased to be here. A lot of things that have been going on in my head, I could use them here because there's a whole range of imagination. Because when you're talking about Farage, you're not talking about what he's doing now. If you have this imagination that he will emerge like some big lion and consume all foreigners. You ever, since you're small, you have a little brother or sister who just like to talk sake, and talk against this crap. That man is not serious. And I find so many of us are making something out of him. Why doesn't he come in the carnival in Notting Hill with a truck and on with a tannoy and start abuse busting? I don't think he'll come out alive, do you? Why doesn't he go to Ireland and carry on in the Catholic areas? Do you think he'll come out alive? We tend sometimes to overplay these half-wits. And it takes us a long time to know. I know a lot of black people talk that same crap about whites. Racist nonsense. And I just keep my mouth shut. I say, shave your breath to blow your coffee, you idiot. Feel that. I don't want to hear you with that. And I've banned myself from going to meetings unless I get into arguments. But I think I'm slowly changing because I enjoy being here tonight. And I learned a lot. And I did not know that Farage was frightening black people to the extent to frighten me. How could there be an ideology without somebody saying it? Farage is the leader of a group of misguided people, and we should just join some, we should just have a little church. You know what I mean? Seventh-day Adventists. And I'm speaking like this. My father was an Anglican priest. So I used to serve at the altar until I broke with my father and became an atheist. This mantra, I'm willing to insist everywhere I go now. He means nothing. I have greater respect for the people of Britain, particularly the working class. For them to support that easier. And they supported Ed Miliband now. That's another one. Oh, last thing. There is a film I was invited to called on Wedgwood Bend called Will and Testament. It's a fine document. And we all ended up singing Brennan Road. And the entire auditorium went up. Well, if Farage died in the morning, and everybody brought up any post-mortem kind of meeting to see some ceremony, I think we get about 12 people. Wedgwood Bell, when you can't use those two words in Bell and Farage. And I'm going to put some. I'm going to tell Mrs. Howe when I go home and my children when they come to see me, I do not want to hear that name called in this house. I'm banning everybody from coming to my house. The children, I have 7 and 6 grand, 13. And they are going to ban it. Very much. They send videos and speeches. Who could cause a lot of difficulty and petty murders in this corner. But I grew it. I speak English when I was born. And you know, to speak a little French, see too far, that fall in my house. Again, and the mortgage is already paid. You understand? Don't have it. No, do not go on in vain. You need support. That's it.